And good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He is Griffin. And yeah, we're going to eat chili and cinnamon rolls today because, I don't know, we hate ourselves. I'm not really sure. Oh, this was a thing that popped up on the internet last week because they do it in the plains. You know, the rain in Spain falls mostly on the plains. Not sure if you heard that, but I'm pretty sure even they are smart enough to not combine chili and cinnamon rolls. We'll see how this goes. The problem for me is I just don't normally even eat at this time of the day. Like, I have a banana every morning.
Think your body will
That's
just
breakfast.
You'll just reject it?
I'm more thinking about, like, I got a whole day's worth of work to do, including we got a Tyus Bowser show coming up tonight, and I can't spend my day pooping. Like, it can't be that this just causes me to be spending most of the day in the water closet. You know what I mean? Like, in El Baño. Puedo ir al baño, por favor. I can't have that situation play out. I need to work from the desk, not from the old porcelain throne, you know?
Not work. Okay. You got 6 hours to recover.
We'll see. Yeah, Tyus Bowser show tonight, Mother's North in Timonium. Cockeysville, if you want to call it that. I think it's more Cockeysville than it is Timonium, but I get it. It's right on the edge. We're going to be there. 7 o'clock, Tyus and his special guest. I believe I know who it is. I don't know yet if I can say who it is. And truthfully, I feel like at this point, you guys shouldn't need to know. I really do get kind of frustrated on that, by that. I get a little sick of people that are like, oh man, I'll come out. Who's the guest? Tyus. Tyus he's the host of the show. Come out and meet Tyus. You want to come out as well to meet the guest? That's fine. But like the idea that you're going to make the decision as to whether or not you're going to come out based on who Tyus brings. No. Tyus is the star of the show. But I understand there's a good guest lined up, and if at some point during the morning I'm allowed to say who it is, I'll tell you who it is. All right? That's the way it'll go, but we'll be there tonight at 7 o'clock. Tyus Bowser Show brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. It's a partnership of PressBox and Great 8's Memorabilia. Coming up in just a few minutes, we will continue our 10th anniversary celebration of the Ravens Super Bowl 47 title. Vonta Leach is going to join us also later on this morning. Joe Serpico will help us with waiver-wire Wednesday. I mean, I guess we're throwing everything at Christian Watson. I don't know. It's weird. He had 3 touchdowns, but it's not like he had a ton of targets. We'll talk about it. We'll talk. I'm going to talk about it. And then Patrick Stevens will join us as he does every Tuesday. We'll talk about what's going on in the world of college hoops. Great start for Towson. Maryland plays on TV for the first time tonight as they take on Binghamton, and they play in a pretty big tournament coming up this weekend. We'll talk to Patrick about what's going on there. So all of that coming up on the program, and yes, KZ will join us in a bit, and we will pay our penalty. As far as last night was concerned, a couple of things. One, you guys can't be surprised that Adley Rutschman didn't win Rookie of the Year. We talked about it yesterday. It was an overwhelming favorite that Julio Rodriguez will win. I think there's going to be even more disappointment tonight when I don't think that Brandon Hyde is going to win Manager of the Year either. But, I mean, some of this stuff, the writing's kind of on the wall. Like, I think he's got a better chance than Adley Rutschman had. A lot of these awards become narrative awards. At some point, Julio Rodriguez just kind of clinched in everybody's minds Rookie of the Year. And for as much of an argument as we were trying to make locally, and as much as there was an insulation around the idea of, well, actually, look at the Orioles' record since Adley Rutschman arrived. Look at all these other things. You were fighting a losing battle. The narrative had already been created that Julio Rodriguez was the Rookie of the Year in Major League Baseball, and we just weren't gonna. You weren't gonna win that one. It was gonna be Julio Rodriguez, and that's fine. Julio Rodriguez is quite deserving. It's the part that you feel bad about, but Julio Rodriguez is a very deserving winner of the Rookie of the Year award. And it doesn't mean that Adley Rutschman wouldn't have been. if it had worked out that way, he would have been an extraordinarily deserving winner of the Rookie of the Year award. And maybe if Adley Rutschman had been healthy and up on opening day and had been able to put together an entire season, maybe he would have been even more in the argument. But ultimately, Julio Rodriguez was responsible for a 6.2 WAR, while Adley Rutschman was responsible for a 5.2 WAR. And I'm not saying that WAR is the end-all, be-all of everything in baseball. I understand there are more relevant statistics. But when you try to say, hey, just because Julio Rodriguez, was a better hitter doesn't make him a more valuable player, well, WAR is the closest thing we have to determining kind of all-around value. And by WAR, Julio Rodriguez was the more valuable player. I hope Adley Rutschman wins 8 MVP awards, and we forget that he ever lost out on Rookie of the Year. I hope that in 10 years, we don't even remember that he lost out on Rookie of the Year. But this was always going to happen. There was one guy that voted for Adley Rutschman ahead of Julio Rodriguez, a guy up in Toronto, and, bless him. He presented a nice argument on Twitter as to why he did it. And I think the Orioles' record when Adley Rutschman arrived is the best argument for Adley Rutschman to have been Rookie of the Year. But at the end of the day, he was still, for the totality of the season, a .254 hitter. And that's, when you're talking about two players who were really good, it kind of ended up being a bit of the difference between one and the other. Julio Rodriguez obviously hit more he had 280-something, I think, this year. So it's the reason he won Rookie of the Year. Tonight, they'll announce Manager of the Year. And again, I think we're going to be disappointed. I think it's going to be Scott Servais. And I think that's fine. The Mariners were a really great story this year. I know we weren't paying attention. I know we didn't care. I don't know if you heard, they had the longest drought, I believe, in all of professional sports of making the playoffs. You end that, you're probably going to get a few awards. I hope there are more coming for the Orioles. I hope that Colton Cowser is Rookie of the Year next year. I hope Adley Rutschman is the MVP. I hope Kyle Bradish wins the Cy Young Award. I don't think he's going to.
Colton Cowser's going to beat out Gunnar Henderson?
I guess Gunnar Henderson probably didn't have enough at-bats this year.
I think so. I think he's just under.
Just under? Okay.
Yeah.
So, then he would be in conversation for it. I mean, I hope they win all of them, but come on. This doesn't matter. Whether or not they move towards winning is what really matters. And who knows? Again, maybe the right voters are the guys that voted for Manager of the Year, and they prefer Brandon Hyde over Scott Servais. We'll find out tonight. The football game that happened last night. I think I'm going to separate two things. I'm going to separate the game from the reminder. I think last night should provide a reminder to everyone that when you sit back and you start to count the wins for the Ravens the rest of the season, please remember this is the NFL. Please remember this isn't college football. As easy as it might be for us to sit back and say, well, the Ravens are going to be favored in every game between now and, I don't know, maybe the finale against the Bengals. That doesn't mean they're just going to win all of them because you want them to. And every time we said, well, the Eagles are going to be favored in every game they play the rest of the season. Fine, but they still have to play the games. And the other teams are still trying. And last night was the perfect combination of the Commanders having a plan. Let's not try to let Taylor Heineke beat the Eagles. Let's realize that our best chance is running the ball and keeping it away from them. The Eagles being without Jordan Davis. The referees getting involved. Some bizarre mistakes. The Eagles hit a bomb downfield. It looks like it's going to be the go-ahead touchdown, and 3 seconds later, Washington's got the football. All of those things conspire, and all of a sudden you have a different result than you expected to have. And I'm not telling you that means that the Ravens are going to lose to the Panthers or to the Jaguars or to the Steelers. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying the assumption that they're just going to win all of them because you want them to or because you believe they're better or whatever the thing is for you spits in the face of what you know about how football works, which is that teams lose games they're not supposed to sometimes. It happens. This is football. I think it's almost absurd to assume that they're just going to win every game that they play. It's not how this works. The teams are too good. There is not enough separation. We think that because in the context of 1-32, we look at the Texans, we say, God, they're horrible. And then we see the teams that are at the top, the Chiefs, at this point, I guess the Vikings and the Eagles still, and even still the Bills. You look at that, and you're like, God, there's a giant separation. But it's only within the context of 32 teams. There's not actually a giant separation. It's not the separation, say, that exists between Texas State and Ohio State. It's not an absurd separation between these teams. These things occur. I'm surprised. I was asked yesterday, would you bet the Eagles to cover tonight, even though it was a big number? Yeah, I probably would. Probably would. So I'm surprised, but am I stunned? No, it's the NFL, man. This is the way it works. Am I stunned that they, missed a massive face mask call on a huge game-changing play? I guess I can't even be stunned by that. I mean, I've watched NFL officiating long enough. You would think that last night, if they care, the Eagles should be able to use that to go to the league and demand Sky Judge be implemented this offseason. The way that the Saints absurdly used what happened to them in the playoffs to implement reviewing pass interference, which was always nonsense. It was never going to that was never going to work. Sky Judge has always been the answer. The egregious, everyone on the broadcast is watching how embarrassing it is for the NFL that you're getting this wrong, but yet there's no apparatus by which you can fix it. And I have understood the NFL's kind of issue. The issue for them is that there's probably something that's debatable about every play that occurs during the course of a game. Between holding, illegal contact, things like that. There's so much stuff that you could look at on any individual play and say, well, that, somebody else could have a different opinion. But the idea of Sky Judge has always been far more simplistic than that. It's to save your ass in these embarrassing situations. It's embarrassing to the league that everyone on the planet could see that Dallas Goedert had his face mask grabbed and pulled, and yet you went ahead and allowed that to be a fumble because there's just nothing we can do. Sorry, we can't fix that. Yes, everyone in the world is watching this game and realizes how embarrassing it is. But all we can do is shrug emoji. Hey, sorry, guys. That's the way it goes. Everybody in the world could see that the hit on the sideline was not a late hit. Runner was still in bounds. There should have been no flag. Everybody on the planet could see that. But you have no apparatus by which to fix it. And I understand. They'll argue there's gray area, right? Well, then if we start doing this, and somebody might go back and look and see it's the egregious stuff. You've got to be able to find a way to define that. The egregious things. There are plenty of egregious holds that are missed during the course of a football game. And it might very well be that the answer is simply you're not going to look at holding. I mean, I'd like for that to get fixed because I think that a lot of times edge rushers, that's the strategy going in. Just hold and force them to make the calls. But I think that ultimately if you do go to a Sky Judge, that the answer might have to be that we just don't look at holding. holdings out. It's too subjective. Like, we can't try to fix that. But some of these things are way too, personal fouls, simple fact type of stuff. Was someone on the sideline or not? No. A lot of people are killing Taylor Heineke for how he was celebrating after he drew a personal foul at the end of the game. Far be it for me to defend Taylor Heineke. He realized they had won the game. Like, they just beat a really good team, a game that nobody thought they were going to win. I'm probably going to celebrate that too. Even if the final, the way that it ended was fairly pathetic. Like, you turtled up and you panicked and you just happened to be hit. So I get why that, it comes off a little embarrassing, but the truth is they won the game. That was the moment that they won the game. So I can't really be all that mad at Taylor Heineke for the fact that he was willing to celebrate it. Again, not as easy as you think it is to win games in the NFL. You don't just win because, hey, we showed up and we're better. It will never work that way. And the idea that you can just start penciling in wins, I think the Ravens are going to be slated to be in a good spot based on what their schedule looks like. But the idea that they're just going to win all the games because you want them to, that doesn't work that way. And 2, Sky Judge. Sky Judge now, Sky Judge always, Sky Judge forever. All right, we're going to grab a break here before we talk to Vonta Leach because KZ is going to come in, and then things are going to get a little out of control, I think, from that point on. A reminder, online sports betting is starting in just days here in Maryland. PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting right now, you can get $300 in pre-registration credit plus other incentives by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. It's PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get your $300 in pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Continue our 10th anniversary celebration of the Ravens winning Super Bowl 47 next. Glenn Clark Radio. The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Tune in to Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday at 11:40 a.m. And if you really have nothing better to do, keep listening to this show too.
Of course, the Ravens are back home on Sunday, which means you can stop by the Game Day Firehouse beforehand, the Firefighters Union Hall, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium, and sample the cooking from the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. You can also register to win your own Ginsu Kamado Grill, as well as $500 worth of grilling meats. Hello. I don't know what just happened there. Did I swallow a fly? Everything was going well. Maybe I started thinking about the cinnamon roll and chili, and I just sort of choked. I wouldn't choke thinking about the Ginsu Kamado Grill because it is awesome. You can also reserve yours right now at ginsugrills.com and save $100 by using the code TAILGATE when you do. Hello. Good morning. I hope it's all gone now. All right, all throughout the season, we have been taking some time every week to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ravens winning Super Bowl 47. Joining us now, one of my favorites from that team. He is, of course, former Ravens fullback. The great Vonta Leach is back with us here on GCR. Vonta, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It is so good to catch up, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
Everything is good, man. I can only imagine how good it felt for you to be back around the guys a couple weeks ago. I know it's sort of crazy to think about how it's been 10 years, but just take me through that weekend, like what it meant to you and maybe somebody that you hadn't seen in a long time that it was particularly meaningful for you to hook up with.
Man, you know, it meant the world to us, you know, for the guys just to get back together. The Ravens, you know, they laid out the red carpet for us. A lot of guys came back in town off that team. I'm thinking probably about 40 people was in town. Guys like Marshall Yonder that I hadn't seen, a guy like Terrell Suggs I hadn't seen. There was a lot of guys that I hadn't seen, you know, since Corey, a guy like Corey, since the Super Bowl, since we made the Super Bowl run. So it was just good to see people. That's
awesome, man. You know, Vonta, one of the things that I've been talking to everybody about is, you know, you guys went through a lot that season, right? Like, it looked ugly for a minute late in the year. I mean, there was, you know, obviously there was a coordinator change that was made, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't necessarily pretty. What was it about that group? What was it about, you know, your guys that y'all were able to kind of go through, navigate all of that, and play your best football by the time you got to January?
Well, we had a bunch of veteran guys that's been there, that did that before. We had guys that could just say level blank. We knew what our ultimate goal was. You got to take it back to the year before when we lost the game right before going to the Super Bowl. So we had a lot of guys from that team. So we knew we had unfinished business, and we knew all we had to do was just get in the playoffs, and we had a shot. Once we got into the playoffs, we know we had a shot to win it all.
Well, as it turns out, not only did you have a shot, you were well on your way. Vonta, you bring up, obviously, you know, everything kind of about that. And what stands out to me about that run is that you guys really came to life offensively. Not that you were a bad offense, but you came to life offensively. What clicked in particular down that stretch of the season?
Well, down the stretch of the season, you know, first of all, you know, we turned Joe loose. They turned Joe loose and let him do his thing. We, like I said, we had an offense coordinator change. We turned Joe loose. We ran the ball when we had to, when we needed to, and you know, everybody. Quan Bowden came with good plays. Dennis Pillar. We had an offense that that was leading the way. You know, finally, you know, the last back in the season, our offense started leading the way instead of our defense.
Hey, I mean, and by the way, the rest is history. As you guys went on to win the Super Bowl that way. Vonta, you know, was there ever doubt for you? Like, was there ever a point where you said, "Man, I don't know if this team's got it"?
there was never a doubt. You got to understand what happened. I think we started off the season good. Then we started off the season pretty good. Then we had some injuries. Then what happened along the way is we had a lot of young guys that were playing and getting a lot of reps. We had a lot of young guys that were getting a lot of reps and doing different stuff throughout the year while guys were healing up, while guys were injured. A lot of people getting reps, a lot of meaningful reps in games and stuff. And so when they came back, the young guys were still playing along with the older guys, and we were deep. Our team started being we were two to three deep at some positions.
That's a great point, right? Like that there were guys that were pressed in duty. I'm thinking about, James Ahedigbo, right? And Corey Graham, guys like that, as it turns out, were damn good football players that you guys had to call upon as this season went on.
Darnell Ellaby.
Oh, my God, man.
Playing a lot of linebackers was Ray was out. Then when Ray got back, they really just sit Darnell down the whole time. So it was just a lot of guys just getting, like I said, a lot of meaningful reps. You got Pernell McPhee was getting a lot of reps as a rookie and stuff. So a lot of guys were getting a lot of meaningful reps when guys went down.
A lot of guys talked about, have brought up what happened the year before in Foxborough. It was funny because when I talked to James Ahedigbo, he wasn't even on the team. He was on the other side of the field, right? He was with the Patriots that year. And yet he still remembered what Ray said in the locker room to you guys. He wasn't even in the locker room. He still remembered the words of what Ray said that seemed to set the tone for the entirety. Go out and put a smile on somebody's face. How important was that moment, looking back on it, and all of the disappointment that you guys could have dealt with? How much do you remember what it was that Ray said, and how much did that set the tone for what you guys were able to do the following year?
Well, he said a meaningful speech, right after the game. Everybody was down, everybody's mad, but we got up there and talk, It's just one our year. So, there was stuff that was bigger than football going on. So it just put stuff in perspective as far as life and football. So then, we said next year it could be our year. So that was our goal once we started going into the year.
What would you tell everybody? I bring up after the Houston game, right, that there was a lot of talk about, you guys, the coaching staff wanted to go a certain way, and you guys said, man, that doesn't work. It was reported as though it was almost like a mutiny, and the more I talk to guys, the more they're like, yeah, that wasn't the case at all. I mean, it was just we talked to the coaches, we worked things out. But what did you learn about John Harbaugh from that and the type of coach he is, and obviously the success that he's continued to have in this league to this day?
Yeah, well, it was a players and coaches meeting. Coaches wanted to do one thing, the players thought we should do another. Like I said, we had some veteran guys. So guys did play a lot of football and stuff. So we ended up working it out in the end. We ended up making sacrifices, both coaches and players, and we just put our best foot forward. John has always been, a tough guy. He always been no nonsense, hard nose guy. He's very opinionated and stuff like that. He always been. So we just put everything in perspective, and we just came to an agreement, and it worked out for the both of them.
Yeah, it did. It worked out. It worked out really well. Vonta Leach is with us here on GCR. Vonta, the way that this league has kind of turned back to being a run, I feel like, fullbacks could work again at this point. I don't know.
Yeah,
right? Like, I feel like the league has kind of changed a little bit over the last year, and we're starting to see. We saw it last night, right? The Commanders going to Philly, and they're like, we're just going to run. And the Ravens the last couple of weeks against the Buccaneers and the Saints have been like, yeah, we're going to get back to running the ball. That's always been pretty good for us. How excited is it for you to see that, people are remembering that running the ball still kind of works a little bit?
I mean, just like anything, it always evolves. It always comes back around. But always exciting to see a team got a fullback and see teams run the ball. I'm with the hard-nosed, blue-collar stuff, and I like seeing it on Sundays.
I mean, my God, man. You see it. When the Ravens have averaged 38 minutes of possession the last couple of weeks. I think last night Washington had 57 minutes of possession in that football game. It was
lopsided.
It was quite lopsided. It was crazy. It's amazing how that can work sometimes. Vonta, let's get caught up on you, man. What are you up to these days?
Nothing much. I serve on the local school board here public schools in Robinson County, so I was elected that 2 years ago.
Wow.
Elected official of doing that. So other than that, just take care of my family and relax and enjoying retirement.
Well, that doesn't sound so.
get it.
That doesn't sound so bad.
It's not bad at all. You know, I wake up in the morning, take my daughter to school, and after that, I come get me a workout in, which I just finished my workout, and just sit here relaxing in the silence talking to you guys.
What does Baltimore mean to you? What do the Ravens mean to you when people ask you about it?
Man, the Ravens is like you said, the organization from top to bottom is number one. You know, the fans embrace me. You know, blue collar place, they embrace me every time I come there. They embrace me from day one, and I love the city of Baltimore, and I love the fans. I love the flock. I love the Ravens flock. Like I said, every time I go there, there's always good love.
I don't know. We've seen you a lot over the years coming back this way, and we've always appreciated that. It's at VLeach44 on Twitter, and then Instagram is VLHammer, correct?
That's correct.
Vonta Leach, man, always appreciate you. You know how popular you are back here. You know how much you were beloved in that run to the title. It was great to see you guys back together a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
All right, thanks for having me.
That's Vonta Leach joining us here on GCR as we continue. We might be doubling up this week, by the way. And in fact, I'll go ahead and tell you, we are going to double up this week. Vonta, of course, you remember, came over from the Texans, and there was another guy who came over from the Texans, Jacoby Jones, and he's going to join us this week, too. In fact, I'm going to pull the curtain back. I recorded with Jacoby yesterday, and I didn't know maybe if we might save it till next week. I've had maybe 100 conversations with Jacoby Jones over the years. This one, by far and away, the most hilarious conversation I've ever had. And for the record, I debated censoring it. This will not be for your kids. You will have to tell the kids they can't be in the car for this one. That's the beauty of us not being on terrestrial radio any longer, because it would require about an hour's worth of work for me to edit the conversation that I had with Jacoby Jones. We chatted for a while. We ended up chatting for like 20 minutes. And at first, he apologized. And then he just decided he was going to let it fly. Once I told him it was cool, it was colorful. Some amazing stories in there that I had never heard before. So, yeah, we're gonna double dip this week. It's coming off the bye. We got the time to do it. Jacoby Jones will join us. KZ, would you come in here? Ken Zalis is here. We still got other things we got to do this morning. Your protege, Joe Serpico, is going to join us. What, are you watching the show?
No.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? My fantasy waiver-wire pickups.
Oh. So, all right. We'll talk about that because Serpico is going to join us in a couple minutes. We do waiver-wire Wednesday. Griffin, will you want to go ahead and get the...
Yeah. Do you want me to heat it up? You want me to heat everything off?
They get the cinnamon roll, too?
Yeah, well, I guess
you don't
I
need
just
to,
pop it in the microwave.
If you're dumping hot chili on the cinnamon roll, you don't really need
I don't think you need to heat the cinnamon
Okay.
roll
All
up.
right.
I think the chili should probably be warm, though. I don't think we want to eat cold chili. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. I really have no idea how I feel about this. I felt like you were actually half excited about this.
Not excited. I just didn't think it was, like, of all the different things that we've all been made to eat.
Yes.
This did not sound like in the top 25 of horrible.
I don't know. This doesn't seem good to me.
To me, it's going to be like a sweet cornbread that you put in chili.
I'm telling you, you are excited about this.
I'm not excited about it. I just
came
don't
in here for a feast this morning.
I actually don't think it's going to taste bad.
So last week's pick side bet, we found out that in the plains and Kansas and that area of the country, they do cornbread not cornbread. Ken was talking about cornbread. They do cinnamon rolls and chili. And I said, why? Why would you do that? That just seems so wildly unnecessary. But then, of course, that meant that we were going to have to do it. Of course. So we had a bunch of us in on the side bet this week. Not only the three of us in the room, but also we had in Drew Forrester, John Proctor, John and Little Rock. Now, the rule has always been loser and ties.
Loser and ties.
And normally in our game, if you go 4 and 5...
You're good.
Yeah, correct.
You're usually pretty good.
It's not great, but nobody's great. And this week that wasn't the case. Only Andrew Stecca was worse, and because he's in Arizona, he didn't get in on the bets. So we all finished in a tie for last. All of us who went 4 and 5. So the three of us plus John and Little Rock, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us this morning, and that wasn't he realized he lost and he called it. He told me ahead of time that wasn't going to be the case, so he will have to do it privately on his own and consume his own chili and cinnamon rolls. We have to consume ours this morning. Now, you did the St. Patrick's Day sandwich last week.
Yeah.
You did the mayo and mint apple jelly, and by the end of it, you actually were going back. It seemed like you were going back for more.
No, you kept on complaining the entire time.
I thought you were a man of your word.
I am, but I'm
sorry
that if
you were letting a lot of the substance.
I wasn't letting; it was falling out,
drip out of the sandwich,
and you were complaining. So I tried to.
Well, I thought you were a man
acquiesce towards you, and
you felt fine though. You felt.
I mean, I didn't. It sat longer than I wanted it to, but it wasn't. It didn't make me.
Did you
sick.
have a burp later in the day?
No, not really.
Okay,
not really.
That's the worst part. I mean, we do one of these. Is
Yeah,
that like hours later, you burp and you're like, oh, it still tastes like it. God.
Griffin was very nice. He texted me to make sure I was okay. So.
Well, he only did that because I told him to.
Oh, well, you all are
don't
very
try to
nice.
give Griffin credit.
Well,
for,
I mean,
that's the where's the chili?
I'm still heating up.
What the? What the hell is going on?
It's a teeny
on
tiny cinnamon roll.
Oh, it's a Pillsbury.
I know.
Cinnamon roll.
Thought we were gonna
you
get.
thought you were getting he was going to Cinnabon this morning?
Cinnabon.
He's going to drive by the airport and stop by. I don't even know where else they have Cinnabon. I guess the malls still have them, right?
There are malls.
There's the Towson. There's still a mall right here down the street. The Towson still.
I guess
mall.
there is. I
don't know if there's a Cinnabon in that mall or not, but that was the only place I remember there being Cinnabons.
And
airports
airports,
and
yeah,
malls.
that's the only place. Like, there's no standalone stores.
Man, when I was young and didn't realize the damage I was doing to my body, every time I got on an airplane, there was going to be a Cinnabon involved ahead of time. Like every damn time I was making that trip. Quickly, a reminder that Stan the Fan Charles and Ross Grimsley caught up with Dan Duquette yesterday. If you missed it, you can find it right now, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab or go to PressBoxOnline.com/video. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline are all of the ways for you to check that out. On Thursday, Stan the Fan and Gary Stein will catch up with John Martin, the director of the Maryland Lottery, as we are just days away from the launch of mobile sports betting here in the state of Maryland. They will get more information about that. All right, so we've got Griffin Neighbor Chili. Why are you just dropping it off? Who do you think you're doing here? Griffin's like, I'm way too important to be. I'm trying to do a show, Griffin.
I'm not.
I don't know if you've heard. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Go
What the hell is going on around here?
Where's yours?
He says he can serve himself.
I'm trying to keep
bring
it
us some
equal.
sort of utensil for which to
I'm trying to keep it.
Spoon.
We get one.
Wait, Ken and I have to share a spoon?
No, there is. Oh, this one's yours.
Well,
okay.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, there you go. Enjoy that. Bon appetit. You want to take pictures here?
Yeah.
All right, before we dig in.
You gotta cut this.
I understand that.
I just don't think this is gonna be awful.
Wait. I mean, he's got to take some pictures and stuff. We got to show people what it is that we're doing. There's a video component to this. Ken, what is going on?
I'm eating this.
What is going on with you today? What is going on? Last week you couldn't talk into the microphone. Today you're trying to skip ahead. You're not the radio salesman that you were once upon a time. This whole retirement.
That's what has to do with retirement.
Yeah,
you know what happens when it's retirement? You forget everything immediately.
By the way, the chili does look delicious.
It does.
There's no world in which your neighbor actually hates you, and we're gonna find out later. This is like a Scott Tenorman situation that, like, there's human in this chili, right?
No, I don't think so.
You're pretty.
I bought the meat, so I'm pretty sure.
You purchased the meat.
Yes.
For the chili.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it should be real meat from my local grocery store.
I hope that's the case.
So here's my problem.
Bon appetit.
Here's my problem with this.
Oh, okay. Ken's already in.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, this isn't. Like, this is nothing compared to things that we've eaten before. I mean,
you're right.
I do not like the cinnamon with it.
I don't know why. Yeah. The question is, why do they do this on the planes?
I like
what is
there's
what is
nothing
it?
Like, if you like this, it's fine. There's nothing like disgusting about this.
It's not terrible.
It's just not necessary.
It's not the sweetness is fine. It's the cinnamon. for me.
No.
The cinnamon doesn't belong. And I'm not a big cinnamon person, so
I just feel like I'm eating chili, really. You're right. The cinnamon jumps out at you.
It jumps out at you, but
when you get a bite that has more cinnamon in it,
right.
you're like,
I don't love it, but it's not like, ooh, it's like the most disgusting thing I've ever had.
Correct. Also, in hindsight, maybe we should have warmed up the cinnamon rolls.
Maybe.
I'm actually wondering.
We could throw each bowl back in the microwave.
Well, but I don't think we want it to be more palatable. I think the idea is that it's supposed to be less palatable.
Yeah.
The truth is,
not awful.
This really isn't much of a punishment.
No.
This really is fine. I mean, like, I'm not ready to say it's good. I'm not ready to say I'm going to be a cinnamon roll and chili man.
I would not do this.
But there is a disappointment to this particular payoff. This is nothing. This isn't going to elicit.
Told you, I never thought that this was going to be awful.
Yeah, you were right. I mean,
maybe we should have done something more here. How could we dress this up to make it a worse punishment in the future? Maybe if we had. What if we had done like I don't know how you are with chili. I'm in our house we do sour cream and cheese on top of the chili.
I don't do sour cream.
At all?
No,
not even
you know how you are with mayonnaise.
Not even on a fajita.
You know how you are with mayonnaise.
Yeah,
I can't take sour cream.
I'm not a big sour cream guy either.
Okay, I can understand that. I don't choose to put sour cream on a lot of things.
I would never put it on anything. It's disgusting.
What?
Sour cream is disgusting.
What? Where did that come from?
Have you tasted sour cream?
Yes, I have. It's fine. It's mostly nothing.
Oh, it's disgusting.
What is wrong with you?
It's disgusting.
Do you enjoy sour cream and onion chips?
Yes.
See, now this is
but
this
the
is
sour
very confusing.
Okay. Again, it's
so when you have a nice fajita, when you're out at the local
No, never.
No.
Mm-mm.
What do you put on your fajitas then?
Salsa.
I got a lot of questions about you, man. I got a lot of
of
things going on.
Cheese. I don't.
Cheese.
I don't put sour cream
like
on anything.
like when I purposely say to them,
put sour cream on a lot of things.
Like if there's like in nachos,
Mm-hmm.
like if I get a thing of nachos, you cannot no sour cream. Get no.
What?
Not even on the side. I don't want to.
Did you have a bad experience?
I don't want to.
to.
No, I just don't like it. Are there things that you just don't like?
Yes, like I don't like mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms, but I don't get panicked if I go to somebody's house and they made beef Wellington. I'm not going to say, well, I can't eat this. It's got mushrooms by it. I'm going to say, thank you for making me this very difficult dish to prepare. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy it. But I don't like mushrooms. I'm a normal.
What do you mean you're normal? You're going to eat something you don't like outside of these stupid little bets?
Yes, because somebody was kind enough. Somebody just made me a beef Wellington. You know how difficult it is to make beef Wellington?
Yes.
You ever tried?
No.
Oh, my God.
Because it's too difficult.
It's insane. God, every time I watch MasterChef Junior, they have the kids attempting to make beef Wellington. I'm like, I'll never in my life. Like, these kids are 8 years old. They are far more.
It's like,
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say, I'm sorry. A nice chicken marsala. You go to somebody's house, they make you a chicken marsala, and you're going to be like, I'm going to scoop the mushrooms off to the side. Like, no, you're just going to eat what someone was kind enough to make you. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Somebody's sour cream.
I mean, I'll eat sour. Like, if sour cream's on something, I'll eat it, but I'll never. If I can
was
help
trying
it,
to do the
if I can
math
help
as
it.
to what if we had mixed in cheese and sour cream as well with the chili and the cinnamon roll, would that have created a more alarming concoction?
for me, yes.
I mean, apparently for you, you would have panicked. You would have ran.
I'm not panicked.
What was it that Drew refused? Like that he just flat out refused to eat when we were. There was something that when we were doing side bets, he just said, "I won't do it. I won't. You'll never get me to eat that." I don't remember what it was. It's gonna drive me nuts. I'd like to get that answer. All right. Well, this was just a tasty snack. You already finished?
No,
There's
nothing wrong with it.
No, nothing at all wrong with it. It's good. Tell your neighbor the neighbor chili. And again, I hope it's
neighbor chili is very good.
I hope
her name's
it's
Gwen. She's a great cook.
Thank you, Gwen. It's very tasty. I hope it's not human. I hope that we find out that everything is on the up and up with this chili. I hope that you haven't bothered Gwen in any way at any point in your life. And
I don't think so.
I guess we just move on with the show now. This was remember when? Oh, you guys weren't part of the show. Brian Powell had to do the 18 ounces of Chick-fil-A sauce.
Oh, I remember.
Plain.
And
he just came in.
Yeah.
And he just ate 18 ounces of Chick-fil-A sauce in like 5 minutes, and then he was just like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Okay. Yeah.
It was the biggest no-sell in the history of the program. He was completely unaffected, I kept waiting for him to start getting the shakes, and it never came. He just
18 ounces of Chick-fil-A sauce.
2 giant tubs worth, and then a few more packets worth to get to 18 ounces. Plain, by itself, nothing else. And he just sat there completely unaffected by it. What? I don't know. I'm fine. I wish I could sell this. I wish I could tell you it was awful. It's
not.
It's not awful. I don't need it again. There's no world in my...
I mean, I'd rather, like I said, I'd rather have a nice cornbread in here, but if this is what they do, that's what they do. It's just, let's...
Proctor suggests that we should have just done, you have to eat 3 whole Cinnabons. That would have been too much.
Proctor.
That would have been too much. He's not wrong about that. All right, well, what else is going on in your world? Thanks for stopping by.
Let's see.
Gonna check in.
Let's see. We'll talk football with him. All right. My son made all conference for soccer.
Congratulations.
Yes, that was very exciting.
Has he decided where he's going? Now it's just Ken Zalis and I catch up.
Welcome
to Casey and I catch up.
No. We'll have an announcement second week of December.
You want to announce it right here on Going Clark Radio?
I can if you'd like to.
Is he going to do the hat bit? If he does the hat bit,
I'm all in.
Come on, I want him to do the hat bit.
I gotta get him out of school to do this.
So you can't.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll
I don't know how difficult it is to order these hats because I don't know what the school.
Well, I can get the hats. I mean, they're not easy.
It would be hilarious if you did.
Okay.
It would be. That would be fun.
We'll do
right?
it. We'll do it.
Oh, I'm so stoked for this. I'm actually genuinely excited to have him do the hat bit.
We'll do the hat bit.
We would get him to throw one in the trash can. Could you get him to really?
No, we can't do that. Because
you
never know.
Want to be nice. Oh, that's a great point.
You never know. Good transfer portal in college. You got to be careful with those things these days.
A year later, things aren't going.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
you call up. They're like, "We saw the video. We saw the video.
You threw the hat in the trash.
It's not going to work out. I'm so sorry. All right. Well, I'm literally just about finished. This was definitely by far the. You weren't wrong. I'll give you credit. This was barely a punishment. Okay, cool. Now, let's shift gears. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, and it's also brought to you today by the Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. It is the best place to hang out. They do great events all throughout the week, live music, live trivia, yappy hour, so much more. GuilfordHall.com is the website for you to find out. If you haven't tried the delicious... Griffin's licking the spoon. That's how much this wasn't a punishment. He's licking the spoon.
There's nothing wrong with this.
This was terrible. Why were we also... Maybe it explains why everyone was willing to get on the side bet this week. Everybody.
That's why I was.
I tell you what, this week we're in.
Yeah.
Next week you're getting in blind, baby. Next time it'll be a blind side bet that you can't be prepared for. GuilfordHall.com. Go check them out. Every Tuesday, we preview Waiver Wire Wednesday. The new and improved Ken Zalis here at PressBox is Joe Serpico. PressBox, ooh, that was a good one. I did taste that one a little bit. PressBox fantasy football analyst, and he is with us. You want to put your headphones on so you can talk to Joe? Yeah, you can't hear him if you don't have your head. I know you retired.
I didn't know where the headphones were. I'm new to this studio.
That's fair.
Joe Serpico, good morning. How are you, my friend?
I mean, this is high tech compared to where the headphones usually were.
At the other place, we had just wires everywhere. Who knew? Joe, good morning. What's going on, pal?
How's it going, my friends? By the way, team sour cream all the way.
Thank you. What the hell is wrong with this guy? It's not like it's not even the biggest sour cream. I would never go to the fridge and take a spoonful of sour cream and just eat it, but it has its place.
I could.
Wait, are you?
I could.
Okay, all right. I've changed my mind.
I don't want sour cream like that.
I don't want you on my team. You're a psychopath. I've changed my mind. I don't like that at all. All right, let's get to it. Christian Watson, what's more relevant, 3 touchdowns or 4 catches?
Good. I think 4 catches. I mean, you can't beg on anybody to have 3 touchdowns any week. It is about time that they got a little bit out of him. It's been something that the Packers have been long waiting for. But at the same time, if you're banking on anybody to score 3 touchdowns a week, you're literally lost your mind, and you're probably losing quite a bit. And I'd be surprised if you even had him in the starting lineup, just how things have been going. Just first couple, let's say, 10 weeks of the season. I know he was sitting on the bench in one of my leagues, and I was not too thrilled to see, because I could have used those 3 touchdowns. But, again, not somebody you can really rely on a week-to-week basis, at least not yet. I
get that. I still feel like I should put a claim in for him because I'm keeping trash on my roster at this point, right? Like, I still have Eno Benjamin on my roster. He's unemployed, right? Like, I feel like there's still room for me to put a claim in for him, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Get him on your roster if he's available, especially if if you've got Eno still on your team. It's about time to put him on the waivers, because it doesn't sound like – I'm still curious to see what happened there, because, he was actually startable for a couple weeks, and then, about 2 weeks later, he's without a job. But, yeah, for Watson's sake, put him on your team. Hope that this is the sign of things to come, and maybe he can be somebody that you can rely on down the stretch, because now we've reached that time of the season where it's time to prep for your playoff rosters if you're in the running.
Let's talk about Rachaad White in Tampa.
I know I've talked about him quite a bit. He's been somebody that I've been targeting a lot. He's just the more explosive player when you watch the games. Every time I watch Fournette, and I'm a Fournette owner in 2 leagues, and he just seems so choppy in the backfield. He just seems slow as opposed to White. White just seems like a player that is going to get featured more and more down the stretch. Almost bad timing. Fournette had to leave the last game with an injury. Ideally, White probably would have got extended touches this week, but of course the Buccaneers are on a bye, so that's going to give Fournette some time to heal up and be ready for Week 12. But I 100% agree that White is probably going to get a lot more touches down the stretch just because he's the more explosive player, and they drafted him with the idea in mind of him being, the pass catcher, at least for first year or two. And I think down the stretch, he's just going to be somebody you want to hold on to. And if, God forbid anything lingering happens for Fournette down the way, he could be a league winner for you.
So I have one spot left on one of my rosters.
I'm not sure, Joe, if you know. This is Ken Zalis. He used to be good at fantasy football, and now he's like an old man.
And now,
he's just wandering through the desert.
Now I'm losing in leagues to Glenn Clark.
That's pathetic.
I know. Such a bad week. I have one spot. Who do I want for the run? Do I want White, who we just talked about, or do I want Pacheco out of Kansas City? Which guy takes my last roster spot?
I'm going to go with White just because the Kansas City situation, it's so hard to watch just because they feature all 3 guys now. Between him, McKinnon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think Edwards-Helaire only had like 17% of the snaps this past week, so it seems that they're phasing him out quite significantly. But Pacheco just seems to be more of, your first 2-down running back, as opposed to McKinnon. He offers something as, PPR option for you. But like I said about White, I just think White is going to be featured more and more down the stretch. It was good to see him finally get 100 yards and over 20 carries, and hopefully that's the case for him moving forward. That Kansas City situation, it's good for them that they have so many options that they go to, whether it be the backfield or at receiver. But it's just so hard to trust anybody other than Mahomes and Kelsey each week.
Do you need me to? I don't know. Do you know how the apps work? Do you need me to come over there, old man, and help you out with trying to add these players?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I've done it.
You still remember
while you were finishing your chili. I did my 21 leagues. I'm set.
You're still playing 21 leagues.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you? Joe Serpico is with us. Waiver Wire Wednesday. He's PressBox's fantasy football analyst now. Joe, it was a really good feeling for me this week. Not in the KZ league, but another league I was in. Where, yes, part of the reason I lost was because I didn't take Ezekiel Elliott out of my lineup, and shame on me for that. I was out hiking with the kids on Sunday, so that's my fault. But the other part of the reason why I lost is because I'm a Darren Waller owner, and I decided to pick up Robert Tonyan. The guy I was going up against picked up Moreau, and I got my ass handed to me because of it. How viable is Moreau the rest of the way if he is available in your league?
Well, so that's another team right now. Outside of Devontae Adams, it's hard to trust anybody. Yes, Moreau, he has spurts where he's great, and we all know, when Waller's healthy, he's probably a top 5 tight end in the league. Now, if you're one of those guys like me who's lost Zach Ertz for maybe the foreseeable future, if not the rest of the season, yes, take a flyer on Moreau. He's somebody that is going to get extended looks as long as Waller's out. But then again, that basically comes down to how long is Waller out? Is it something that's going to play out the rest of the fantasy regular season and go into the playoffs?
I'm starting to think that's going to be the case.
Well, didn't they put him on IR?
They put him on IR.
So he's gone through week 13.
And they're terrible.
Yeah.
So, what is the rush to bring Darren Waller back?
I 100% agree with that. He's somebody you can rely on. Now, I know we've talked about, I feel like almost every week now we're talking about just how terrible the tight end position is. If you don't have one of the top, if you don't have, let's say, Kelsey and Andrews, not like I just mentioned, Ertz is down. There was probably the three that you could rely on the most, and then everybody else is basically a crapshoot. Throw a dart at the board and just pick a guy at this point. That's kind of how it's been. So, more of, if he's available, absolutely throw, let's say, a $1.2 here or there, something like that. So you got to add him to your team if you're really in a pinch at the tight end position. But like I said, it's just the way that whole position's been this whole season. Just take a flyer on anybody and just pray for the fantasy gods to help you out.
Should I put in a claim for Kmet? In the league where I picked up Tanyan, is Kmet the guy I should be putting the claim in for?
That, if he's available, absolutely. I think he could be a top. I know he burned a lot of fantasy owners. I think the first 2 weeks he failed to score any points whatsoever. But that, since Justin Fields has kind of got it together, Kmet's been the main beneficiary of that. I believe he's got 2 straight games now with 2 touchdowns. And he's getting extended looks now. He's somebody, again, that's such a terrible position that you almost got to hope that production continues.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, I would like any production at all.
Again, that tight end spot is just so it's so hard to rely on anybody. Every single week, I feel like we're talking about, let's take a flyer on this guy, let's take a flyer on that guy. That has really been a down position. I mean, even coming into the season, like we mentioned, Waller, Kyle Pitts has done next to nothing this year too. A lot of people were taking him in, let's say, 3rd, 4th round, thinking he was going to be something significant. It's just been wild how that position, it was already kind of watered down in the grand scheme of things entering the season, but now that we've kind of played the season out, it's just basically a 2-man race, and after that, it's a guessing game.
Yeah, not great. Griffin has a quarterback issue he'd like to ask you about.
Yeah, so I have Geno and Tua on bye this week. My option, who are my options at quarterback? I have Aaron Rodgers available as well as Daniel Jones.
Oof, that's a tough one because Rodgers finally showed some signs of life last week, and of course it goes against the Cowboys' defense. Probably everybody thought the Cowboys would find a way to shut them down, just the way that Packers' offense has been playing and the way the Dallas defense has been balling out for most of this year. Daniel Jones, at least he offers you something as a runner as well. It's not always pretty, but then it doesn't always have to be pretty with your fantasy quarterbacks. And we saw last year, Jalen Hurts, there'd be some games he looked absolutely awful, but still put up 20-point spots. We have already seen that a couple times already this year from Daniel Jones. I can't rely on Aaron Rodgers after one decent showing. I'm not ready to do that just yet. There was a reason why he was tucked in the later, let's say in between 10 and 12 to start the season, and now it's hard to trust him even as a top 15, 20 option. So just based on the rushing ability alone, I think I would have to go with Daniel Jones, and I hope for the best there. That's not an ideal situation to be in, though.
What a world we live in. By the way, those are my regular quarterback options. Those aren't my bye week hell quarterback options. Those are my I drafted Aaron Rodgers, oh my God, what do I do quarterback options for this season. That's where I am. Another double-digit week for Jaylen Warren. You start taking notice of that at some point, and does he start becoming an option that, if he's still out there, you're using a claim on?
He's somebody I've added in all of my leagues now just because it seems something's definitely going on with Najee Harris. So he just doesn't – I know he had a pretty decent game this past weekend, but he just doesn't look right. The reason why they wanted to feature Warren, I think I saw a stat last week where, Warren had almost 1/4 of the touches, but he had 13 carries or 13 touches of 10-plus yards as opposed to Harris had just 12 or something along those lines. So Warren just looks like the more explosive player. They made it openly known heading into last week that they wanted to get him more involved, and I could see, kind of like what we talked about with White earlier, I can just see him getting more and more touches down the stretch. And, as the case with any of these backup running backs this time of the year, you kind of want to stash those guys in the event of injury just because, what's the need for, let's say, you have a 5th wide receiver or a 2nd tight end if you've already got your tight end to pass, the bye week or something along those lines. Just stash these backup running backs. never want to wish injury on anybody, but that's also the name of the game in fantasy. You want to kind of have a leg up on anybody. So, yeah, I would definitely get Warren on your roster if you have the space available.
And what about Kadarius Toney?
Well, I had an argument with a buddy of mine over the weekend over him. I have never been a fan of Toney, regardless of what, with the Giants, even in college. I never thought he was worthy of being a first-round pick. But, if he takes over that spot with Juju, I don't know how serious Juju's injury is, but they definitely, they used some capital to get him in Kansas City. Mecole Hardman was also out this week. I know we talked about him last week and I believe the week prior as well. And it looked like they kind of put him in that similar role as Hardman. Now, again, kind of like I alluded to before, they just have so many options. Outside of Kelsey, it's really hard to trust any of them. Any given week, it could be anyone. We saw a week where Mecole Hardman had 3 touchdowns, and we've seen weeks where, it's Juju that's featured the most. So it's kind of hard to trust any of those guys. Is he worth a waiver spot? Yeah, why not? Again, if you need some receiver help, if you're looking for maybe a third or fourth guy down the stretch, but are you going to start him in these next week or so? It's kind of hard to do so until we see, like a proven track record of he's going to be featured quite a bit.
Anything else? Anybody else's name who jumps off the page at you? You say you got to file this away either for Waiver Wire Wednesday or if they happen to clear waivers, somebody that should be on your roster.
Well, believe it or not, I was surprised to see how available. I kind of talked about some of these backup running backs. Alexander Madison's a guy that's just, for some reason, is hardly rostered. We've seen countless years of Dalvin Cook getting injured. If he's available, if something happens to Dalvin, you got a guy right there. And we could just go down the line of all of those backup running backs. We talked about Warren. We talked about Rachaad White. Any of those guys that, let's say Miles Sanders last night, say something was to happen to him. You have Kenneth Gainwell. So if you have that roster spot to basically stash a couple of backup running backs, that's something you want to do just in case of the event that somebody were to get hurt. And then you got a plug-and-play option at a relatively position that's, running backs typically are what wins you your leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nothing's winning me my league this year, unfortunately. I think is the answer.
That's completely different.
Yeah, it is a disaster. All right, at Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him. PressBoxOnline.com is how you see all of his stuff. Joe, you're a much better version of Ken Zalis. I've already forgotten about that a-hole, frankly. Appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst, joining us here on GCR. Man, I can't believe how much better he is than you. God, it's crazy, right? Why do we keep you around for so long? We put you out the past 2 years ago.
I'm going to tell you right now why you keep me around.
Yeah?
Van Jefferson's a guy that you didn't talk about that must be owned everywhere.
I saw somebody talking about Van
because
Jefferson.
Cooper Kupp's going to miss minimum 2 weeks. It's probably closer to 4.
But they also kind of stink.
They do,
Yeah.
but somebody's got to catch the ball. They can't run the ball worth a lick.
Okay, so I'll give you an example. On this particular team, right? I have Mike Evans on a bye.
Yes.
The only good thing I have going on this roster is my wide receivers. I've got Evans and Hopkins. That's it. That's the list of good things I have going. I've got Dobbs, who I'm waiting out. I don't know. At some point I might just have to release him.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
I guess I would play Terrace Marshall this week. So are you telling me that you would play?
Yeah, I'm probably playing Van Jefferson over Marshall.
What about if I were to pick up Watson?
I mean, he's worth a shot.
Or Tony.
Here's the thing that bothers.
So rank those 3. Watson,
Tony's 1.
You would have Tony 1.
Yes.
Then
just the fact that the offense he plays in, the usage that we saw this week, and it can only get better if Juju is out or limited, because I don't think Hardman is back. This is a guy that they targeted. Like nobody was going after this guy, and they targeted him. They have a plan for him. This is their Tyreek Hill. I know, and nobody wants to say that because they have all these guys. The problem with Kansas City this year is they have not had those explosive plays. Juju is fine, but he's a possession receiver. That's what they have Kelsey for. MVS is fine, but he's a one-trick pony. He can only go straight. They wanted, you saw it this week. Tony, for me, is the number 1 guy this week. I get all the things with Christian Watson, and everybody's going to overspend fab for him this week because the 3, he only had 4 catches.
I think it's relevant.
I think there's a problem with 4 catches. That team has to run through the running backs. You saw that a little bit more this week. Both were more involved. They want Watson to be the splash guy. He's not going to be a 7-8 target guy in that offense. And so for me, I just go by the touches. I rather have Tony this week.
Okay, so you go of the 4 guys: Tony, Marshall, Watson, and Jefferson. Rank them.
Tony, Watson, just because of the what if factor. Jefferson, Marshall.
Yeah.
Does Paris Campbell fit in anywhere there?
No, they got
even with Matt Ryan back.
I mean, first of all, I don't know who got in Saturday's ear, but thank you. I mean, you saved Jonathan Taylor's owners. I mean, by just putting a legitimate quarterback behind there. No, I think you still have Pittman Pierce. Campbell's a nice maybe bye week fill in, but there's just not enough mouths to feed there when you're going back to a Jonathan Taylor getting 25 carries a game. So I think the guy I'd rather add if I'm adding a Colt is I'm probably adding Zach Moss. We talked about what if running backs. Mm-hmm. He's a big what if running back.
Yep.
Got some talent there. 2 other things that I want to point out. This is the last week you can get Deshaun Watson if he's available, and he's probably available in 50% of leagues. This is your last week to get him. Yes, you have to have him sit out next week through his bye, but if you're in a situation like you're in with quarterbacks.
Yep. Oh, I've got him. I'm not proud of it. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. I have him in leagues. I don't like it, but I mean, we're playing a game, and we're trying to win money. I mean, it is what it is. So
the funny thing too, I think Proctor tried picking him up in one of my leagues earlier in the season, and then he got Justin Fields, so he dropped him.
Right.
And what I realized is I just don't want anybody else. What it more is to me, more than anything else, I don't even know how comfortable I'd be playing him in the first week because I think I still want to see him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do something.
Oh yeah.
But so by that point I might already be eliminated. It might be that I'm eliminated before he would ever see the field.
But I
just don't want somebody else picking him up and beating me with him.
So here's my thing. I mean, you got to look ahead, and if you're in the playoffs, Week 14 is brutal because there's 6 teams on bye, which is just
I know.
How is that a thing?
Oh my God! It's just and there's there's nobody because they decided nobody should be off next weekend for Thanksgiving weekend, so there's no bye week in Week 12, and then it picks up 13. It's just we've always complained about this. It's idiotic.
Have they always had Thanksgiving no bye weeks?
I don't remember it being that way.
That seems.
I also remember going Week 14 to Week 11 were all the byes, and only within the last 2 years they expanded it with the 17-week schedule.
It feels like it should be easy. 4 teams on bye every week for 8 weeks. But
you have all these. But then you have the international games, and you have the. One other piece of advice I want to give everybody: Donta Foreman. You should be offering him for as much as you can get for him at this point. His value will never be higher, and his schedule stinks the rest of the way. I don't expect him to have a big game this week against the Ravens. Nobody really runs against the Ravens too much, and his schedule isn't great. The quarterback situation isn't great. Hubbard's coming back, so he's going to eat in as he gets more. He's coming off a huge game, over 100 yards, score a touchdown, sell. Your most of your trade deadlines are this week or next week, so you'll never get more bang for your buck, and he's not going to be that guy down the stretch.
All right. I don't know if you know anything about this fantasy football thing, so I'm not sure if I can.
I only play in 21 leagues, so I don't follow it much.
Psychopath you are. What a psychopath you are. How's retirement, by the way?
Can I just tell you how much?
But seriously, in 2 months, you're going to want to write about the draft. I know you are.
It's funny. I've had a couple of different people ask me, sort of like you did earlier this year, this is my sleeper.
Jesus Christ! The headache. I'm playing in 3.
I know. I scrolled once and it still wasn't done.
I went down from 4 to 3, and I'm regretting the fact that I agreed to do a third. Now it's mostly because I'm 2 and 8 or whatever I am.
Somebody asked me if I was going to follow the draft, and I'm like, I don't know. I said because draft writing is to me is even harder than than fantasy football. Fantasy football, I can live week to week a little bit. Okay. I haven't followed the draft. Like, I really haven't.
You haven't watched college football?
I've watched college, but I haven't watched a lot of it. I'll be honest. I haven't watched a lot of it. And now we're getting into the main reason that I'm sort of not doing it is that, like, every weekend now, like, I'm on a soccer field all day long. So it's like, I don't know. Maybe, we'll see.
I'm still convinced. That at
no,
some
I think
point
this
you're
whole
gonna walk in and
may,
you're gonna say,
may,
all right,
maybe next year.
all right,
maybe next year, but definitely not this year.
Do you want? We're doing college basketball next. Do you want to stick around, or are you?
I'm gonna go.
Okay, all right.
But this was lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
a
snack.
lovely-
Thank you
a
for the lovely lunch.
Yeah,
Should have had a
right.
little candle in the middle.
God, what a nothing payoff. Brian Powell checked in to remind me that we were welcome for when he no-sold the Chick-fil-A sauce.
I
Son of a bitch.
mean, we could have tried to sell this, but it really wasn't working.
There was nothing I could say
nothing.
that could make it gross.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't gross in any way. Like, it wasn't necessary, but it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't gross.
No.
That's the end of it. All right, buddy. I appreciate you. That's
Thanks,
Ken
guys.
Zalis at Fans Fantasy on Twitter is how you follow him. Appreciate him stopping by and paying a quote-unquote penalty. Yeah, this morning. Two things. One, it is official. Calais Campbell will be joining Tyus Bowser tonight for the Tyus Bowser Show. We will be at Mother's North in Timonium. Hope you will come join us at 7 o'clock. Calais Campbell joining Tyus Bowser for the Tyus Bowser Show. Online sports betting will be starting in Maryland in the next couple of days. PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting right now, you can get $300. $300 in pre-registration credit plus other incentives by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get your $300 in pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. When we come back in, we will talk about the week in college basketball. Our buddy Patrick Stevens joins us next. Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And, of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 15th at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest. And I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
All right, thanks again to KZ for stopping by this morning. And, calling it a punishment would be incorrect. It really was not. It was just a nice little snack this morning. Good late breakfast or whatever you want to call it. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends, the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants. If you're looking for a simple holiday meal, then try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. I happen to know that our next guest has spent a lot of time at Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants over the years. He is our friend, the Washington Post at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter. He's Mr. Patrick Stevens, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning. How are you, sir?
I am well. And you, Glenn?
I'm all right. I think that we lead off this week's conversation by talking about Towson, correct? It's a pretty solid 3-0 start with a couple of nice road wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think they picked off a UMass team with a new coach that has a very new roster. I can't say I'm terribly surprised they went up and did that. And they got Penn the other day pretty convincingly. 6-point victory up at the Palestra against a Penn team that was picked to win the Ivy League this year. So Nicholas Timberlake is off to an awesome start for them. I believe he averaged 25 in the first week of the season, which, that'll do. That'll work. Maybe it wasn't quite that much, but he had 27 against UMass and 21 against Penn. So he had a really good week.
Not bad.
However you slice it, he averaged 25 in those two games. He had 8 against Albany, which I think Towson kind of had a little bit of those, shake off the rust, maybe some nerves, all that stuff in that opener. But they've played well as they begin their run of games away from home. I mean, they only play 2 more home games before Christmas. And one of them is next week against Coppin State. But their next game is at UNC Greensboro, a consistently good team in the Southern Conference, and the team that they'll play the back end of a home-and-home against. Last year they beat Greensboro by 10 at Towson. So another tough test awaiting the Tigers here as they look for a 4-0 start.
I know you've seen a good amount of Coppin over the first week of the season. They had that incredible performance against, I know Georgetown's not very good, but that was outstanding. Just sort of it kind of came apart in the end in overtime. And then last night, they get a really nice win against Navy. What have we learned so far about Coppin, who I think we both thought was a team that had a chance to take a step this season?
Yeah, I kind of thought of them as a wild card, and I know we talked in the preview show with Juan Dixon about Sam Sessoms and what a big boost he was going to be, a guy that had scored 1,700 points in his career over 4 years between Binghamton and Penn State, had been an all-league type of guy in the America East, had been a solid bench player at Penn State. And, you look up and he's averaging 23 points through 4 games for them this year. He had 24 points, 4 boards, 4 assists, 3 steals last night. And, he's an interesting guy that sort of complements how they want to play. I think last year watching them, they would get very jump shot happy. And last night, they basically kind of sized up their situation and said, we've got a much more athletic team than Navy. Let's take it downhill. Let's try to get to the basket. Let's try to get to the foul line. And that is exactly what they did early on in building a 13-point lead. Juan talked about after the game how they want to be a team that gets downhill, and they did get a little complacent a bit, but managed to shoot themselves out of things. Navy went to a zone to sort of deter Coppin from getting to the bucket quite as much. Mike Hood, the guy who hit the 3 that forced overtime at Georgetown, came off the bench and had 15 last night. I look at Coppin and that combination of Sessoms and Nenda Tark, that's going to win them a lot of games in the MEAC. And I'm pretty well convinced at this point that as long as they can stay on track as a team and not have some unraveling, which is something that happened last year, that's a team that's probably going to be a little bit better than what I thought they were going to be, at least in the MEAC. And here they are. They're sitting at 2-2. The last time that Coppin State was at 500 or better this deep into the season, they were 4-4 in Fang Mitchell's final season.
Wow.
Back in 2013-14.
And I know that somebody's hearing that and saying, well, it's not all that deep into the season, but you got to keep in mind that Coppin's schedules notoriously have been almost impossible. I don't even know what the correct word is to describe a Coppin State non-conference schedule. Like just
imposing.
Yeah.
Cash generating.
Yes, correct. And so they don't typically, even 4 games into the season, we're normally talking about a stretch where they've played maybe like 1 winnable game and 3 in, at Arizona, at UCLA.
Let's just point out what they did last year.
Okay.
Right? Like,
yep.
Last year, they played Loyola Chicago, DePaul, Rider, and Connecticut all on the road.
Yeah.
And we'll take the pre-pandemic season. They got Rider at home, at Virginia Tech, at Loyola Chicago, at Northern Illinois. So, I think the other thing, and Juan talked about this too with us a couple weeks back, they had the back-to-backs early. And let's face it, if they had not played the night before against Charlotte, they probably beat Georgetown. They ran out of gas.
100%.
And understandably so. But they're not doing too much of that crazy travel the rest of the way. They have back-to-backs later this week at Tennessee Tech and Marshall, which is not – it's not going to be a ton of fun getting there and all, but that's not a terrible turnaround for them. And from there on, they've got an at East Carolina and at GW in a 3-day span, and an James Madison at home and an at George Mason in a 3-day span, and an at Richmond and at Rutgers in a 3-day span. So it would probably be more ideal to have an extra day in there for all of them, but none of those are truly obnoxious travel situations that are going to deter them, and they certainly don't have any back-to-backs remaining.
Yeah, Patrick, anything before we get to Maryland, anything else on the local front that was worth noting over the course of the first 8 days of the season?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and note that I'm intrigued by Loyola, a team that
they got a good win
its
Sunday,
first win of the season against Brown, and they played DePaul pretty tough in that opener. They did not put up much against Penn State. Lost that game by 25 up there. But for a team that still trying to figure out all the pieces there, trying to figure out how do you deal with the Cam Spencer absence, departure, et cetera. Deion Perry, from what I'm hearing, is just been super jet quick for them, and plays like a freshman at times. But as Tavares Hardy told us a couple weeks back, they're gonna live and die by with what he's able to do at the point guard spot. So I'm intrigued to see them. I'm going to take a look at them on Thursday. They have Washington College in. So not exactly a situation where you're going to learn a whole lot about them, but can certainly see some things about some individual players. So that's a team that I think is worth mentioning on the good side. Flip side, I got to say that last night was not encouraging for UMBC, a 30-point loss to Princeton, and that was a game that they actually led by 10 early on, and the wheels just kind of came off the wagon for them. So they're 1-2, and they get a couple games at home this weekend against Lafayette and Central Connecticut. We'll see if they can bounce back.
He is Patrick Stevens. He's with us, as he is every Tuesday, talking college hoops. The Maryland front, I guess what we've learned so far is they like scoring 71 points in a game. I guess this will be, for a lot of people, the first time they'll get an opportunity to see Maryland, because they'll be on TV tonight against Binghamton. The first 2 games were not. I know we talked last week. Did we learn anything more from the Western Carolina game? I don't know. It still sort of seems like there are some growing pains with this Maryland team.
Yeah, and I still am not convinced of how deep they can realistically be over the course of a season. They I thought offensively eventually figured it out in that game. I think you could basically point to the defense and say that was an improvement. They gave up 2 more points than they did against Niagara, but I thought overall they played better defense. But that's also a limited Western Carolina team that they played. I mean, let's not sit around and pretend like it's not. I will say that I think it was clear from the start that they were going to engage Julian Reese in the game a lot more. The 19 points and 12 rebounds were both career highs. Would not be surprised if those are career highs only for a handful of weeks or months. I mean, he's probably going to have a few games that are a bit better than that over the course of this season. So, I kind of look at them and I think Ian Martinez is playing pretty well for them. And if he's a solid top guard off the bench, you could see that being something that can work for them. I don't know beyond that. I mean, I think Patrick Emiliano, we talked about it last week. I think he's fine against non-conference teams. I don't know how well he's going to hold up as a backup big in the Big Ten if a Reese or a Dante Scott gets into foul trouble. And then beyond that, I think we know that Kevin Willard likes Jahari Long, recruited him to Seton Hall, and he played 15 minutes the other night. But beyond that, still a lot of questions. And I think that's until Maryland gets into dicier opposition, and I think that starts this weekend when they'll play St. Louis. Yeah. Coming this weekend with St. Louis and then either Providence or Miami. I think that's when we're actually going to get answers to some of these things, or at least initial answers to these things.
How good are those teams? So I know you've been high on St. Louis. We've talked a lot about them so far. How difficult is that test for Maryland on Saturday?
That is a team that is experienced and has a really good backcourt. They're off to a 2-0 start. They've handled Murray State and Evansville at home. They actually play Memphis tonight at home in one of the more under-the-radar interesting games. I'm not sure Maryland will see a better point guard this season than Yuri Collins of St. Louis. And then you throw in Javante Perkins and Gibson Jimerson on the wings. And then Francis Okoro, an Oregon transfer, has been a really solid presence for them in the post. They have a lot of answers. And then you talk about Providence and Miami in that Sunday game. Providence had a kind of dicey opener. Edged Ryder by a point before they handled Northeastern pretty easily. Guy to keep an eye on for them is Jared Bynum, a Georgetown prep guy who really broke out in the second half of Big East play last year. I believe he'd been at St. Joe's prior to Providence. And then Miami's a team coming off an Elite Eight appearance is going to be very, very, very starter heavy. You're not going to see a whole lot of bench minutes in a tight game from them. Isaiah Wong and Nigel Pack. Pack being the guy that came from Kansas State and was one of the more prominent NIL-related additions for anybody this season. Those two guards are going to play big roles for the Hurricanes this year. They also have Jordan Miller, a Georgia Mason transfer, at the 4, and Norchad O'Meara, who really was one of the best players at the mid-major level last year at Arkansas State. And then he basically looked for greener pastures and managed to land at Miami, and he's going to be, I think, one of the more solid big guys in the ACC. So lots of answers on all three of those teams. Maryland is we're going to learn quite a bit about where they stand at this point come the weekend.
Let's take a national look quickly. Obviously tonight, very big night, and even Michigan State, who looked pretty good against Gonzaga on Friday. What is the expectation for what does that mean for Michigan State? Do we read into that maybe they're a little bit better than we thought that they were? I don't know if they're ready for a test like Kentucky, and Duke Kansas seems to be. I know it's very early in the season. I know that those two teams, they're probably going to be comfortably in the tournament. So to say it matters, I don't know how much the result of the game matters, but it seems like that's about as good as you could ask for at the beginning of a basketball season.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the at least on paper, it's one of the better non-conference games. So I think both of those teams have had some turnover from last year. So we'll probably get a better sense of who they are. I mean, I don't think there was a whole lot that we really picked up about Duke from them playing Jacksonville and USC Upstate, and I don't think that there was a whole lot to be gained about figuring out Kansas from their games against Nebraska, Omaha, and North Dakota State. Although North Dakota State has historically been a pretty decent program. They won 23 games last year. So there is, that's not beating a nobody. But this is clearly the opportunity to learn something about those two teams. I mean, the interesting thing is, and you mentioned the Gonzaga-Michigan State game. Like, Michigan State's the team that we actually know a little something about at this point, because Howard and Duquesne were Kentucky's first two opponents. So, we'll see how Michigan State recovers from that. I mean, this is a heck of a stretch for Michigan State. I mean, they go from playing Gonzaga out in San Diego to playing Kentucky and Indianapolis to playing Villanova at home, and then they're off to the Phil Knight event out in Oregon and play Alabama next week as the first of 3 games out there. So, if there's one team that we can definitively say that we'll know a lot about by the time November comes to an end, it is the Michigan State Spartans.
There's no question about that. Anything else on the national front that stood out for you? I mean, I guess the Tennessee-Colorado thing was kind of crazy on Sunday. Anything else that kind of jumps out from the first eight days of the season?
Well, the Tennessee-Colorado game is one of those things. But the interesting thing is Colorado is part of one of the other interesting things that's gone on in the opening week of the season. The Pac-12 made a deal, a really interesting and deal, and something they should be commended for. Basically a challenge series with the SWAC, where you would have 6 home and homes between teams in those leagues, and then the other 6 teams from both leagues would play home and homes with each other. And so, last week, Grambling goes to Colorado on Friday and comes away with an 83, or Grambling gets Colorado at home and gets an 83-74 victory. Texas Southern gets Arizona State at home and beats them 67-66 on Sunday. So those are a couple really nifty victories for the SWAC, and they might not be done because Prairie View has Washington State at home tonight. So for the SWAC to go get those victories, it's sort of a reminder of, at this time of year where teams aren't entirely settled, especially with the rosters in such flux, there's a reason why, and it's not just money. There's a reason why coaches of these power conference teams do not want to go on the road and go play in some bandbox someplace against a really hungry, motivated team that's getting a shot. And so, if the SWAC manages a split of these games, I think Oregon got Florida A&M, and I think it was either USC or UCLA that played Alabama State. And there was another one in there too that's escaping me at the moment. But if they get a split, that's pretty remarkable, all things considered. So certainly that's a story that has caught my attention here in the opening week. And not that it's that important, but a number that struck me as I was going through last night's results. Yale 4-0. They just won the Rainbow Classic. 4-0 for the first time since 1949-50. So there's an Ivy League team to keep an eye on as Yale's off to a really good start.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't know they had moved the Rainbow Classic to the start of the season. I was unaware of that. I thought that was a Christmas.
Well, what they do now, like it obviously used to be kind of what the Diamond Head is now, where it's around Christmas.
Oh, so they just
Christmas
do both of
them.
Okay.
So this is a whole. They bring out 3 teams, and everybody gets 3 games.
Got it.
So I believe it was Yale, Mississippi Valley, and Eastern Washington. That went out there for 3 games in 3 days.
Okay. All right. Now I understand. Now I was the idiot there. I get it now. All right. We're gonna attempt to salvage our game. We'll see how it goes this week. I think that you're gonna be fine, and then I think we'll get back into it. I'm getting rid of all the 5-team guys. It's insane. You and I can do that off the air sometime because the names, it's just insane. We're only going with 4-teamers moving forward. For Patrick Stevens, can he name the MLB teams that these players played for? So I begin with someone who was a 4-time All-Star, who 4 times finished in the top 10 of Cy Young voting, and I had only forgotten about one spot for this person because he only pitched 1 game for them. 4 teams for Cole Hamels.
Cole Hamels was a Philadelphia Philly and a Chicago Cub.
Of course.
And a Texas Ranger.
Most certainly. And then where did he make one start?
And he was an Atlanta Brave
He
for a
made
game.
1 start for the Atlanta Braves in 2020 during the pandemic season, and I did not have any recollection of that whatsoever. So I had 2 options. I could have gone with the slam dunk, or I could have gone with a trickier one. So because you went 4 for 4, we'll go with one that's slightly trickier. Someone who is a Catonsville native, was only once an All-Star, but 4 times a World Series winner, a reliever. The 4 teams for Jeff Nelson.
Jeff Nelson was definitely a Mariner.
Obviously.
And he was definitely a Yankee.
Yep.
And that pretty much knocks out like the bulk of it,
The
right?
overwhelming majority of it. In fact, one season somewhere else and then a cameo appearance.
One season and a cameo appearance for Jeff Nelson.
Yes.
Whew. I can't say Seattle again, can I?
No, but he did for the record. He did go back. Yes, you're
did go
feeling
back.
he did go back. He spent 2003 between. Wait a second. He went back twice. So he went to New York. Then in 01, he ended up back in Seattle. Then he was traded back to New York in the 03 season. And then he pitched 2004 somewhere else. And then he signed back in Seattle in 2005. So he had 3 different stints with the Mariners. So your gut instinct to say it again is backed up.
I feel like that's almost worth half a point.
I am
right?
willing to give you a half a point to make sure that we finished over 500 for Jeff Nelson.
Gosh, I'm struggling to remember where else he pitched.
Yeah.
Was he in Texas?
That's you know what, dude? You won. You win. Stop. The last stop was it was falling apart in 06, and he made 6 appearances.
Okay. So one other spot for Jeff Nelson, maybe Boston.
Yeah. What White Sox? The other Sox.
White Sox.
Yeah,
okay.
the White Sox. But that is unbelievable. I had no memory at all of Jeff Nelson as a Texas Ranger. That's incredible. All right, sir. What's the schedule look like for you this week?
Be in College Park tonight to see the Terps one more time before they hit the road. American has William and Marion tomorrow, Loyola on Thursday, and then UMBC has a 2:00 matinee against Lafayette on Friday. So that plus a Navy with UC San Diego on Saturday or on Friday, and then Sunday probably catch both of those teams again. UMBC has Central Connecticut, and Navy has Youngstown State, and then that'll be the last game I see before we talk again.
You don't have requirements that force you to be at the Maryland football game by chance, do you?
I actually will be there. I was omitting that.
We
but,
will. Well,
hey,
it's
a chance to see Ohio State.
That's true, and I only bring it up because
you've got AJ
correct.
Francis's food drive.
That's exactly
fantastic.
Right. We will be there on Saturday collecting canned goods for Sarah's house in Fort Meade. So please, everybody who's coming down to the Maryland-Ohio State game, bring your non-perishables on Saturday. Support a friend of ours and Patrick's as well. AJ Francis is a good man. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. Always appreciate you, pal. I'll see you on Saturday, all right?
Awesome. Take care, Glenn.
Thanks, buddy. Patrick Stevens checking in with us as he does every week. Talk some college hoops. Yes, again, please. I know it's not been a good couple of weeks for Maryland football. Ohio State's really good. You get to see them up close and impersonal. And who knows? Tyrell Pigrome nearly beat Ohio State, as Jonas Schaefer reminded us yesterday. Or if you don't want to go to the game, but you're willing to come down and maybe enjoy a couple beers at tailgate, we will be at all the entrances at CQ Stadium on Saturday. We will be collecting non-perishable food items for AJ Francis's annual food drive benefiting the Sarah's house at Fort Meade, and, of course, AJ, who played at Maryland, and Arundel County native, and had a great NFL career himself. Now you know him as Top Dollar in WWE. So if you've got a kid who's a pro wrestling fan, watches SmackDown on Friday nights, I promise you it would make their year if you brought them down to the game on Saturday and you brought some non-perishables to meet AJ or Top Dollar at the WWE at Saturday's Maryland-Ohio State game. All right, today's show is also brought to you by that was a very chili laden burp that I just like. It's fine. It's just chili, and it was tasty chili. You know what I mean? Like it's not like having a pepper and mayonnaise burp later on in the day where you're like, ah! Like
that
was
just, I mean that.
Yeah,
the pepper and mayonnaise.
But I tasted it. Is my point. Like
yes,
I did taste that right there.
That's nice.
Thank you, Mike. Mike is
of course.
Here, by the way. Mike is here.
Hello.
Yeah, that was again. It was fine. Everything about it was fine. It's not a. We probably don't even need to put that one up on TikTok, honestly, because it was just a nice little snack. Really, is all it was. Today's show is also brought to you by, speaking of nice snacks, Glory Days Grill. Every night after 9 o'clock is $6.99 apps, and they are wonderful snacks, including the smoky thigh wings, the buffalo chicken dip, Mott sticks, all of it available for $6.99 every night after 9 o'clock at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website. We'll come back in. Tidbit, Tubular, and Simply the Bets all on the way. Glenn Clark Radio. Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A Catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Are you talking about Violent Night, Micah? Because I've never been more excited for a film than I am Violent Night.
We've heard about your
We're
love
doing
for
that at
Violent
midnight. I hope you guys understand. What day does it come out? What day does Violent Night?
Is it like December? It's like the first week of December or something like that?
Violent Night hits theaters on...
Or maybe it's the last week of November. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So you can go see it on Thursday, December 1st.
Okay.
Is when it's... And they don't do midnight showings anymore. You can start watching it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The hell happened to that? We used to be a proper country.
That's D-box.
Right? That just means it opens on Thursday. That's what that means. This is nonsense. When we say a movie comes out on the second.
The midnight showings were fun.
It were
to go
incredible.
Packed theater.
We did a bit in Arizona when we worked out there when we were in our early 20s where every week we picked a different movie. We didn't care if it was a big deal, not a big deal, because our show was 8 to midnight. And so we would pre-record the final segment of the show, and we would meet listeners out on Thursday night, and we would go see some movie at midnight every Thursday that was coming out. Now, some of them were great, right? Like
that's sick.
I think Superbad was one of them that we went and saw. The Simpsons movie when it came out. Then there were others that were like, we don't really know what this is, but we'll go look at it. Like Smokin' Aces was one we went and saw at midnight on a Thursday night. Great time at Cinemaplex. Smokin' Aces was a lot of fun. We went and saw Pan's Labyrinth at midnight. Probably a movie that we should have gone and saw at a time where we were a little bit more awake. It was a bit of a headache. But we would just go see anything at midnight because going to a movie at midnight the night before, it felt like you were stealing. It felt like you were the one, like, I'm getting this before you can. It felt like you had pulled off a heist. Even the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
Like even the one before the Dark Knight. Which one? What was that called? What was the one before Dark Knight
Was
called?
that Batman Begins?
Batman Begins. I think we
Yeah.
went and saw that one at midnight. I made everybody go see the worst one that I made everybody go see at midnight was I made everybody go see was the last American Pie movie, American Reunion or something like that. I was so excited about it because it brought me back to when I was 18 years old and American Pie was the biggest thing in the world. I was like, oh, I'll go see American and it stunk. I mean, it was terrible. God, it was wretched. And I definitely made everybody go see that at midnight. But I love going to midnight movies. I would actually prefer to do this at midnight, but I'm guessing we'll get more people to go with us if we go earlier in the day. We're going.
And
We're
with a
doing
movie
this.
like Violent Night, I feel like
Violent Night
you can't
absolutely should be at
go,
midnight.
You can't
thing.
go at 5 p.m.
All right, we're not going at 5, but we'll go at, I don't know, maybe we'll go at 9. Maybe we'll do a 9 p.m. screening of Violent Night on December 1st. Gonna need everybody to start registering now.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Fill
be,
the
by the way,
theater.
it's gonna be me. That's gonna be the answer. Even Mike is gonna be like, "Yeah, dude, I got the volleyball. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm out. I can't make it. Just the way it's gonna go." Last time, Paul and I tried to schedule a field trip for everybody to go see the Jackass movie, and everybody lied and was like, "Yeah, we're all in." It was when we had Lil Jordan and Papa Cass around. Everybody was talking like, "Yeah, we'll go see." We're gonna go on a Friday right after the show. We're like, "It's on me. I'll pay for everybody. I'll take care of it." And everybody, like, literally that morning was like, "Yeah, the thing is, no." It's like, okay, thanks. Paul and I just went by ourselves on a date. It was a lovely little date that we went and saw the Jackass movie. But yeah, we're going to Violent Night. That's the thing that's happening. All right, I have like 8 reads I got to do before we start the betting show. First of all, a reminder that online sports betting starts in just days, and PressBox has your hookup for all of the best offers. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. You're going to get great sign-up incentives. Right now, $300 worth of pre-registration credit plus other incentives available at PressBoxOnline.com. $300 in pre-registration bonus credits. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. Go check it out right now as you decide what you're going to do for sports betting now that it's legal in the state of Maryland. Tidbit is brought to you by the new print issue of PressBox, which is available right now. We were just talking about Maryland basketball. Kevin Willard is on the cover. Go pick it up today for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all. PressBoxOnline.com. What you got?
All right, so Michael Harris and Spencer Strider are the 8th set of teammates to finish 1-2 in Rookie of the Year voting.
You
Joining.
don't actually think I'd know, do you?
No, I don't think you could name. You should be able to name the most recent one. 2011 was the last time a set of teammates went 1-2.
How am I supposed to remember who was Rookie of the Year in 2011?
I guess you really can't.
It's very specific.
You want to tell you the team?
Sure, tell me the team.
It was also the Atlanta Braves.
Also the Atlanta Braves.
Yes.
2011. It's also the Atlanta Braves.
Neither of them. What team is it? Yeah, neither of them are. I think neither of them are at Braves anymore, and they're now both on the same team. That's not the Braves.
Who would have been Rookie in 11? Freddie Freeman?
Freddie Freeman, yeah.
I don't remember who finished second.
It was a reliever. Still one of the top closers in baseball.
Still one of the top. Kimbrel?
Mm-hmm. Craig Kimbrel
Wow.
and Freddie Freeman. Before that was
Wow.
1989. Jerome Walton and Dwight Smith of the Chicago Cubs.
That one I would have remembered, obviously.
And then the first duo to do it was 1957 with the Philadelphia. I guess they were the Phillies by then, right? 1957.
57, yes. That's it.
Jack Sanford and Ed Boucher.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that the totality?
I mean, do you
of
want me to read the whole list? I mean, you're not
No,
going to know any. I don't know any
we
of
gotta
these
move
names.
On. We got to move on. We got to move on. All right, thank you. Thank you. Very good. Tidbit was also brought to you today by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. Tubular brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Come out this Sunday to the Game Day Firehouse, 1202 Ridgely Street, Firefighters Union Hall. Sample the cooking from the Ginsu Kamado Grill. Register to win your own and $500 worth of grilling meats. The Ginsu Kamado Grill. Also use the code TAILGATE at ginsugrills.com and you'll save $100 on your order. All right, as I mentioned, Maryland's on TV tonight, Big Ten Network, as they take on Binghamton at 7 o'clock. Morgan's at Akron at 7 o'clock. GoZips.com. Mount St. Mary's hosts McDaniel at 7 on ESPN+. Champions Classic tonight. Kentucky, Michigan State at 7, and Duke, Kansas at 9:30. Both of those are on ESPN. In between, they'll unveil the new college football playoff top 25. Some other good games tonight. FS1 has Northwestern, Georgetown at 6:30. Marquette, Purdue at 8:30. CBS Sports Network has Memphis, St. Louis at 9. Dayton, UNLV at 11. Everything else, Vermont, USC at 11 on Pac-12 Network. Everything else, go to glennclarkradio.com. As far as college basketball, find it there. Maction this evening. Bowling Green and Toledo at 7 on ESPNU. Ohio Ball State at 7 on ESPN2. Caps Panthers at 7 on NBC Sports Washington. ESPN Plus and Hulu for Flyers Blue Jackets at 7:30. TNT has Grizzlies Pelicans at 7:30. Nets Kings at 10. Tennis Channel ATP Tour Finals continue throughout the day. MLB Network tonight at 6 for the Manager of the Year announcement. I didn't think there was any chance for Adley Rutschman. I think there's a small chance for Brandon Hyde. I still don't think he's going to win. I still think Scott Service is going to win, but we'll find out. USA Network tonight for WWE NXT at 8. And, of course, the Tyus Bowser Show will be live at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. But come join us tonight at Mother's in Timonium with Tyus and his special guest, Calais Campbell. Non-sports?
Not a whole lot, just kind of the late-night shows. Pat Benatar will be on James Corden. Amy Adams and Maya Rudolph will be on Jimmy Kimmel for Disenchanted.
Apparently Pat Benatar is opening for Pink on her tour.
Oh, really?
And it's coming to D.C. I didn't realize that Pink could do stadiums. I didn't know that. Like, I like Pink. I actually think her songs are very good. I thought that maybe we were a little bit past that. I didn't think that Pink was still, apparently still a stadium.
She's going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I believe.
Pat
this
Benatar,
weekend.
yes.
Yes. Then Seth Rogen will be on Fallon. So will Bruce Springsteen still. Quentin Tarantino will be on Seth Meyers.
What's Seth Rogen plugging?
There's a movie
he's in the Steven Spielberg thing, right?
Oh, is he? I saw that he's promoting Dumb Money, which they're already doing like a movie or something about the GameStop Wall Street short squeeze thing.
Okay, all right.
I think that's what he's. I
thought
you got to watch to find out.
I thought he was in the Spielberg movie.
That he could be.
All right, very good. Thanks today to Patrick Stevens. Thanks to Joe Serpico. Thanks to Vonta Leach. Thanks to Ken for stopping by. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the tab at glennclarkradio.com. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to chat with Navy soccer coach Tim O'Donohue. They're in the NCAA tournament. They won the Patriot League, and they're playing in the NCAA tournament, so we are going to chat with him. We'll get you segment number 1 of the Tyus Bowser Show with Calais Campbell, and I believe Jacoby Jones will be tomorrow as well, as we'll double dip in celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Super Bowl title this week. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Baltimore County Police Department, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, Guilford Hall Brewery, Great Eights Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Thanks to Micah, Micah.Ernest on Instagram. Follow us at Glenn Clark Radio, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Maryland, Morgan State basketball. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. Coming up next, Simply the Bets.